In every shadow a secret waits, in every trail something watches. Welcome to Eerie Trails, where every path leads to darkness, and no story is just a story. Turn down the lights, and open your mind if you dare. There's a stretch of highway out past Jefferson, Texas, that locals don't talk about much. County maps label it as County Road 383, but nobody around here calls it that. To them, it's just the Demon Road, not because of some campfire legend or spooky old wives' tale. No, this place earned its name. Slowly, in blood. One missing person, then another. A wreck that left no body. A drifter who stumbled into town, eyes hollow, unable to speak. Stories stacked like bones, never quite the same, but always leading back to that twisting blacktop that cuts through pine woods, so dense the sun itself seems to disappear. I didn't believe it. Not really. Not until I saw what was waiting there for myself. I was 28, working freelance photography gigs for small-town Texas newspapers. I'd hit a rough patch, late bills, a busted truck radiator, a broken engagement that still throbbed like a pulled tooth. I was staying at my cousin Levi's place in Marshall, sleeping on his couch, drinking too much gas station coffee and chain-smoking Marlboros like I thought they might give me answers. One night, Levi mentioned the Demon Road. He was half drunk, peeling the label off a Shinerbach, staring at the wall like it might blink. You ever drive out past Jefferson? That back road they paved in the 60s? CR to 383? Locals don't go near it? You'd think it's just superstition, but... He trailed off. But what? I asked. He glanced at me. His eyes were glassy, but there was something sharp behind them, like whatever he was thinking about had cut him once and never fully healed. I lost a friend out there, Caleb, high school buddy. Good guy. We were out drinking one night and he said he wanted to take the shortcut home. I told him no one takes 383 at night. He laughed. Said ghosts were bullshit. That was 10 years ago. No one ever saw him again. Car was found still running. Front end buried in a ditch. Driver's door wide open. Seatbelt unbuckled. I asked the usual questions. Maybe he wandered off drunk. Maybe he got picked up. Maybe. But Levi just shook his head. His shoes were on the seat, he said. Feet don't walk far without shoes, especially not in East Texas brush. That got me thinking. I'd always had a fascination with places like that. Haunted roads, cursed lakes, old ghost towns. I figured maybe if I drove the road, took some photos, asked around, I could sell it as a Halloween feature. I needed the cash, and more than that, I needed to feel something. Even if it was fear. So the next evening, I loaded up my beat-up Ford. Focus with my camera bag, a flask of Jack Daniels, and a worn copy of Hell House I kept under the passenger seat for company. I waited until dusk before heading out. I wanted that magic hour light, that eerie orange glow that makes even safe places feel uncertain. It was about 8:30 p.m. when I reached the turnoff. CR to 383 wasn't marked, just a narrow two-lane split, with a bent reflector pole and a rusted gate hanging open like a broken jaw. The trees leaned over it like they'd grown tired of holding up the sky. There were no other cars, no lights, no signs of life. Just the road, empty and endless. I drove. Slowly. The asphalt was cracked and scarred, like it had been burned or clawed at. The trees pressed in close, branches scraping the roof like fingernails. It got dark fast. Not normal dark, suffocating dark. The kind that makes your ears ring and your chest tighten. My headlights barely seemed to cut through it. Like the darkness was moving, swallowing the light faster than it should. 5 minutes in, I started seeing the marks, not graffiti, marks, carved into the trunks of trees, circles, crosses, spirals. Some looked old, faded, others looked fresh, wet. One had something tied to it, A bone. Long thin, maybe from a deer. Maybe not. I pulled over to snap a few photos. The camera flash made everything look flat and fake, like I was on a haunted house set. But the air told a different story. It was heavy. Electric. I felt watched. Not from one direction, from every direction. Like the trees had eyes, and they all blinked at once. I didn't stay long. Back in the car, I kept driving. I noticed there were no birds, no bugs. Just the faint hum of my engine and the rhythmic thump of my heart. Then the radio crackled on by itself. I hadn't touched it. Static. Then a voice, warped and whispering, "Turn back." I shut it off, heart pounding. Told myself it was interference. Old signal. CB radio cross bleed. Anything logical. But deep down, I knew better. That voice had known me. Not just turn back, it was the way it said it. Like a warning. Or a dare. I should have listened out another mile in. I saw the lights. 2 red taillights glowing in the distance, barely moving. I thought maybe another driver had broken down. I sped up slightly, but as I got closer, they didn't get bigger. Didn't get brighter. Just stayed the same. I flicked my brights on. There was no car. The lights were still there, floating. Hanging midair at shoulder height, perfectly still. Then, in an instant, they blinked out. Something ran across the road. 2. Fast to see clearly, but tall, pale, wrong. It moved like it had too many joints or not enough bones. I slammed the brakes, heart in my throat, eyes wide. Nothing, just trees. The car wouldn't start again. I tried, over and over. The engine clicked, coughed, then went dead. Headlights faded. Dash went black dot, then came the tapping dot at the window. Not hard, gentle, curious, like a child knocking on a fish tank. I froze out slowly. I turned my head. There, outside the driver's side window, was a face, or the idea of a face. Hollow sockets. No nose. A mouth that stretched too wide. Skin like ash, no breath. No movement dot, just watching. I screamed, locked the door. Reached for my camera bag like it might help, like I could photograph it and prove I wasn't insane. But when I looked again, it was gone. The forest was silent again. Then the engine roared to life, all on its own. I didn't wait. I floored it. The trees seemed to bend out of the way as I sped down the road. I didn't look back. I couldn't look back. Something told me if I did, I'd see it sitting in the back seat, smiling. I don't remember how I got out. 1 second I was on that hell road. The next I was parked in front of Levi's trailer, hands shaking, eyes burning. An hour missing from the clock dot, the photos were all blank. Every last one. The sound recordings, just static. With something under it. A low hum, like breathing. Or growling. I tried to tell people. No one believed me. Levi just nodded, solemn. "Now you know," he said. "Now it knows you." I don't drive at night anymore. And sometimes, when the wind's just right and the road's quiet, I hear tapping. Just outside my bedroom window. Gentle, curious, like it's waiting for me to come back. They say there's a part of East Texas where the land never forgets. Not storms, not blood, not screams. You can pave over it, drain it, cut the trees down. It doesn't matter. The soil remembers. There's a stretch near Lake O' the Pines, just north of Ore City, where the road hums different under your tires. That's where I grew up. My name's Mason, and I swore I'd never talk about this. Not again. But some things don't stay buried, even when you try. And lately, I've been dreaming about that road again. I was 17 the summer we found the girl. It was one of those suffocating July days where the air hangs heavy with a weight of thunder that never comes. My best friend Jordan had just gotten his license, and we were riding around in his hand-me-down Ford Bronco, bored and restless, windows down, music up. We weren't bad kids, just stupid, reckless, hungry for something weird to break the monotony. There was this legend about a road near the lake. Real name CR 1725, but everyone called it the Demon Mile. It cuts through dense pine forest, and if you follow it all the way, it dead ends at the water, where an old bridge used to be before it collapsed in the 80s. Locals say if you drive it after midnight, you'll see her, a girl in a white dress, barefoot, standing in the road with her back to you. They say if you stop, she gets in the back seat. And if you drive off without her, she finds you anyway. Sooner or later, it was past 11 when we decided to try it. Dumb idea. But that was the point. We stopped at the Valero for snacks and gas. Jordan filled up while I grabbed a pack of Red Bulls and some jerky. The old man behind the counter, must have been in his 70s, gave me a strange look when I mentioned where we were headed. Some places ain't for looking at, he muttered. Some roads run both ways. You go down, make sure you come back right. I laughed it off. But he wasn't smiling. We hit the road just after midnight. The trees grew thicker the deeper we went. Shadows crawled across the hood. Our headlights barely reached the edge of the ditch. It was quiet. No crickets, no frogs, just the occasional whisper of pine needles brushing each other. We passed the old burned-out church around 12:20. That's how you know you're close. Then we saw her, just like the story said. Girl, thin, pale, long black hair hanging down like seaweed, wearing a white dress stained at the hem. Standing dead center in the road, her back to us, head tilted slightly to the side like she was listening. Jordan hit the brakes. Hard. We both stared, neither of us saying a word. The Bronco idled. The girl didn't move. I leaned forward. Is this a joke? You messing with me? Jordan shook his head. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I don't even know her. I opened the door, stupid brave. Maybe she needs help. He grabbed my arm. Don't. But I was already out. The air was different. Still, but not calm. Like everything was holding its breath. I stepped closer, my boots crunching gravel. I couldn't see her face, just her back, so still it was. Unnatural. Ma'am, are you okay? She didn't answer. I was maybe 10 feet away when she twitched, a sharp bird-like motion, neck cracking to one side. Then she turned. Her eyes were all wrong, too wide. Too dark, too hungry. I stepped back. Okay, nope. I turned, heading for the Bronco. But Jordan was no longer in the driver's seat. The door was open. The keys were still in the ignition. The engine was running, but the car was empty. Jordan? I spun in a slow circle, trying to see where he went. Maybe he'd freaked out and bolted into the woods? Then I heard something behind me, breathing, like a person, more like something learning how to be a person. Deep, wet, wrong. I turned around, and the girl was gone. I backed toward the Bronco, heart pounding, eyes darting, trying to listen. The breathing kept getting closer, louder. I jumped into the truck, slammed the door, and locked it. I looked into the rearview mirror. She was in the back seat, not sitting, curled, like a spider waiting to pounce. Her mouth was open too wide, black inside, no tongue. Just teeth, rows of them. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My throat was locked. Then she said it, not with lips, with thoughts. You left the door open. I blacked out. I came to the next morning on the side of the highway, 20 miles from where we were. Bronco still running. No sign of Jordan. No sign of her. No scratches, no damage. Just my camera bag on the seat next to me, lens shattered. They never found him. I told the cops everything. They humored me. Wrote it off as trauma, teenage panic. Said he probably ran away. But I know better. I drive by the lake sometimes just to see if maybe he made it out. I've never taken that road again. But sometimes, when I check my back seat in the mirror, I think I see a smudge. A shape. A shadow with hair like wet seaweed and teeth that don't end. And I always make damn sure the door is locked. It was the kind of place that didn't show up on GPS. You had to know someone who knew someone who'd heard of it once in a bar at 1 a.m., whispered between cigarettes and long silences. Somewhere off FM 1650 near Diana, Texas, there's an unmarked gravel path called Firewater Cut. Locals say it used to be a trail for moonshiners back in the 30s. Others claim it's older, much older, older than the trees, older than the land deeds, older than Texas itself. Whatever its origin, the one thing everyone agrees on is this: no one who goes there after dark comes back the same. And some don't come back at all. I didn't believe in any of it. I was a senior at Tyler, journalism major, trying to get my final year project done, a feature series on East Texas folklore. It was supposed to be a fluff piece. You know, old campfire stories, interviews with superstitious ranchers, maybe a creepy picture or two for flair. I had no idea what I was stepping into when I chose Firewater Cut as my final subject. That my first red flag was how damn hard it was to even find the road. I spent 2 days driving around the area asking locals about it. Most of them shut down the second I said the name. Some gave me wrong directions on purpose. Others just turned and walked away like I'd said something obscene. Finally, a gas station clerk with too many scars and not enough teeth told me where to look. "Don't go alone," he muttered, not looking up. "And don't go after dark. That road don't follow the rules." I went alone, and I went after dark. Of course I did. I wanted atmosphere. I wanted to feel the story. So one Saturday night, I packed my DSLR, my field recorder, a flashlight, a can of pepper spray, and a cheap bottle of whiskey, not for courage, just habit, and set off around 9 p.m. The entrance to Firewater Cut was barely visible. No signs, no markers, just a break in the trees so narrow I almost missed it. The gravel path looked freshly disturbed, like someone had just driven down it, though there were no tracks. My tires crunched slowly over the stones as the woods swallowed my headlights. I drove for about 10 minutes before the road ended in a small clearing. There was a rusted-out pickup truck half buried in vines, an old shack barely standing, and a single oak tree with rope marks scarring its trunk. I got out, pulled my jacket tight, and started recording. The air here is strange. I whispered into the mic, trying to sound professional. Still, pressurized, like the woods are waiting for something. I snapped photos of the shack, the truck, the tree. The flash made everything feel distant and unreal. Then I noticed something odd. There were no bugs. No chirps, no rustling. Just silence. And then I heard it, the first sound in what felt like hours. A woman's voice. Soft. Singing. It was coming from the shack. I froze. Every rational part of me said, leave. But something deeper, something dumber, pulled me forward. I pushed the door open. It creaked like something alive. Inside, the air was damp and smelled like burnt hair. Cobwebs everywhere. Broken furniture. And in the corner, facing away from me, a figure in white. A woman. I should have run. But I raised my camera instead. Snapped a photo. That's when she turned around. Her eyes were black. Not dark, black. The way a well looks at midnight. Her mouth opened, too wide, and she let out a sound I'll never forget. It wasn't a scream. It was laughter. But not hers. A man's voice coming from her throat. Deep, wrong, familiar. It was my voice. I stumbled back, dropped the camera. The woman didn't move. just kept laughing my laugh, louder and louder, until it didn't even sound human. I bolted out the door, tripped on the porch, hit the ground hard. When I looked up, the shack was gone. So was the truck. So was the road. Just trees. Everywhere. I ran. No idea which direction. Branches tore my jacket. My flashlight died. I kept running until my legs gave out. When I woke up, it was morning. I was on the side of FM 1650, covered in dirt and blood. My car was parked neatly on the shoulder, with the keys still in the ignition. The time on the dash said 3:33 a.m., but my phone was dead. Camera gone. Mic gone. I didn't go back to school. I didn't write the story. I barely talked for weeks. When I finally worked up the nerve to plug in my phone, I found one recording still saved. It was short, 7 seconds. Just static. Then my voice, flat and monotone, whispering, "The road is inside me now." I moved to El Paso the next month, but sometimes, when I'm walking alone, especially near wooded areas, I hear gravel crunching behind me. And once, just once, I heard myself humming a song I didn't know. A song in a woman's voice, and I realized I wasn't humming it. I was listening to it. And it was getting closer. They paved over the original road in the early 2000s, but it didn't change anything. Locals knew better than to drive it after sundown, especially during the colder months. They called it Dead Horse Loop, a twisted stretch of rural blacktop, snaking between Hallsville and Harleton, Texas. It used to be part of the old stagecoach line back in the 1800s, until a team of horses collapsed mid-run one foggy October night. Some said it was exhaustion. Others said the horses had been scared to death. The driver was never found. Since then, folks have whispered about strange lights, animals torn open and left in the road, screams that echoed from nowhere, and drivers who vanished without a trace. I never believed in any of it. I grew up in Marshall, went to high school, 5 miles from where Dead Horse Loop starts. Drove it dozens of times as a teenager. Nothing ever happened to me, not a single damn thing, not even a flat tire. I chalked the stories up to drunk rednecks and ghost-happy church folks, until the night I had to drive it alone. It was early December. Cold, windless, bone dry. My uncle had passed away unexpectedly, heart attack in his sleep, and I'd been tasked with cleaning out his old trailer off County Road 6. I was driving back late, around 1:30 a.m., when I hit the detour sign. The main road was closed due to a jackknife semi. The only way home was through Dead Horse Loop. I hesitated for maybe half a second before turning the wheel. It was just a road. The first part was normal enough, just a 2-lane stretch flanked by skeletal trees and wide, empty pastures. But 5 minutes in, things started changing. My radio started scanning stations on its own, skipping through static and distorted country songs before landing on complete silence. My headlights, bright and high-beamed, barely reached 10 feet ahead. The mist rolled in thick and low, hugging the ground like it was alive. And then I saw a dot in the middle of the road. A horse. Dead. Its legs were splayed unnaturally. Its eyes were open. Its ribs pushed visibly through the skin, and something had torn open its underside. Steam was rising off it like it had just died. I swerved around it and kept driving. 10 seconds later, another horse. Same condition. Different position. Dead. Fresh, eyes open. Guts spilled. No blood on the road. No skid marks. I slowed down, heart pounding now. A rational voice in my head said, "Turn around, get out." Something's wrong. Then I saw the third horse, standing this time on the left shoulder. It was staring straight at me, unmoving. Its body was pitch black, not just dark, but wrong, like it absorbed light. Its eyes were milky white, and its mouth hung open like it had been screaming for years and just stopped. As I passed, it turned its head, slow and unnatural, following me without moving its body. I floored it. The fog grew thicker. I could barely see the road now. My hands were slick on the steering wheel, knuckles white. That's when the voice came over the radio. It wasn't in English. It wasn't in any language I knew. Guttural, wet, deep, like something ancient trying to speak through a throat filled with mud. I turned the radio off. It stayed on. The trees grew closer, their bare limbs stretching across the road like claws. My windows started to fog from the inside. I wiped the windshield and saw something through the smear, a shape, in the road ahead. A man, standing in the center of the loop, arms limp at his sides, face hidden by shadow. I laid on the horn. No reaction. I braked, tires skidding on the slick asphalt. The man didn't move. Then, slowly, he floated off the ground. His arms rose outward like wings. His head tilted back, too far back. I could see the underside of his jaw, and it was missing, just a hole, black and empty. And from that hole came the sound, not a scream, a horse's scream. That horrible, high-pitched, warbling noise they make when they're in agony. I'll never forget it. I closed my eyes and floored the gas. When I opened them again, he was gone. The road was empty. The fog vanished. I didn't stop until I hit my driveway. The next morning I checked the car. Hoof prints across the hood. Like something had walked over it. I went back to Dead Horse Loop that afternoon. Nothing there. No carcasses. No mist. No trace. But ever since that night, I hear hooves when I sleep, just faintly. On pavement, pacing. And some mornings, I wake up to find muddy prints in my hallway. Leading to the foot of my bed. They always said something was wrong with Lake Caddo. Not just the way the cypress trees leaned over the water like mourners, or how the Spanish moss seemed to move even when the air was still. No, it was something deeper, older, like the lake itself was watching. Caddo's the only natural lake in Texas, and some folks around Uncertain, Karnick, and Jefferson would tell you it wasn't always a lake, that it was made, not by people, by something else, and that it never stopped needing what made it. I didn't believe any of that until my cousin Jesse disappeared out there. He was one of those guys who always had to prove something. Grew up around boats, knew the lake like the back of his hand. We'd fish together most weekends when I came back to Jefferson to visit family. One night in mid-July, he convinced me to take the flat-bottom John boat out past midnight. Said the fish were biting better after dark. I wasn't in the mood. I had just driven in from Austin, was tired, hungry, and wanted nothing more than to crash on my aunt's old pull-out couch. But Jesse wouldn't shut up. "You're never going to see stars like this again," he said, already loading the rods. "And I got something to show you out there." "What? A glowing alligator?" I muttered. He just smiled. "You'll see." We pushed off around 11:45 p.m. The lake was like glass. Not a single ripple. You could hear frogs croaking and something splashing in the reeds, probably gar or a raccoon, but otherwise it was quiet, eerily so, no breeze, no bugs. The trees around the edges stood still, their moss draped like theater curtains. We didn't talk much. Jesse just kept rowing, deeper into the maze of bayous and sloughs, further from the cabins and campfires. Eventually, we reached a part of the lake I didn't recognize. No markers, no boathouses, just thick clusters of cypress rising out of the black water like rotting fingers. "This it?" I asked. He nodded and killed the lantern. "What are you?" "Wait," he said. "Give it a second." The dark closed in hard. My eyes took forever to adjust. The stars above barely shone through the canopy. It smelled old, not fishy, not earthy, just wrong. Like stale water and meat left in the sun. Then I heard it, a soft bubbling. Like something breathing beneath us. Jesse leaned forward, whispering, "They say there's a town down there. Flooded in the 1800s, church steeple still standing. Sometimes, when it's real quiet, a clang echoed from underneath the boat. I jumped." Jesse just smiled wider. "That's them. Heard the bell 3 times before. Only happens for certain people." "What the hell are you talking about?" But he didn't answer, because something was rising, not fast, not loud, just ascending. A slow bulge in the water behind the boat. The lake surface parted without a ripple, like it had opened its mouth. I reached for the lantern. Jesse grabbed my wrist. "Don't," he whispered. "You'll scare it." "Screw that, Jesse." I flicked the lantern on. The light hit something massive, pale, and slick about 15 feet away. At first, I thought it was a log. Then it blinked. 2 lidless, cloudy eyes. It wasn't a fish. It wasn't a gator. It was humanoid. Or had been. The flesh was bloated and stretched, face warped like clay left in the rain, mouth gaping. It had arms, long, thin, broken-looking, and they floated toward the surface like seaweed. I fumbled for the oars. Jesse stood. "I told you not to bring the light," he said calmly. "You're not ready." "What?" "It didn't want you." Then he stepped off the boat. No hesitation. Just walked straight into the water and sank. No splash, no struggle. Gone. I screamed, tried to grab him, but he disappeared beneath the lake. I rowed until my arms burned, until I hit the shore again. When I looked back, the fog had rolled in so thick, I couldn't even see the water. They never found his body. Sheriff called it a suicide. Family said he'd been depressed. I didn't argue. I never told them what really happened, but I kept hearing that clang at night, in my dreams. Like a church bell underwater. And sometimes I wake up choking, lungs full of cold, murky air, and taste lake water in my throat. Last month, someone sent me an anonymous email. Just a photo. It was taken from the middle of Caddo Lake. Jesse was in the picture. He was standing waist deep in the water. Smiling. But his eyes were all white. And behind him, in the trees, something bigger was watching.